What is up, everybody, and welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we are diving deep into what might be one of the most fascinating, kind of head-scratching off-seasons in the entire league. We're talking about the Indianapolis Colts. And what makes this so interesting is that they've basically taken two completely different approaches to building this team for the upcoming season. On one hand, you've got the offense. It's all about stability. It's all about sticking to the plan, a philosophy they have trusted for years. But then you look at the defense, and oh man, it is a whole different story. We're talking about a massive, high-stakes gamble that could either be a stroke of genius or it could totally blow up in their faces. It is a genuine tale of two strategies, and we're going to unpack it all. So let's get right into it. And hey, if you dig this kind of breakdown, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps us out.
All right, let's start with just one number. 108. That's not just some random stat. That is the number of games that veteran right tackle Braden Smith started for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I want you to just let that sink in for a minute. In the NFL, a league where careers are short and lineups change constantly, this guy was out there 108 times. Through different coaches, different quarterbacks, different offensive schemes, he was the one constant. He was the absolute rock on the right side of that offensive line. I mean, we're talking about a day-one starter, a cornerstone of their identity in the trenches for years, and now, poof, he's gone. And to pour salt in the wound, he's not just gone, he's playing for a division rival. So you're going to have to face him twice a year? This isn't just losing a good player, folks. This is losing a foundational piece, a pillar of consistency. It sends a massive shockwave through that entire offensive unit. So that departure creates this massive void. And it forces a question that the Colts absolutely have to answer. How in the world do you replace that kind of Iron Man consistency, right? It's not as simple as just plugging in the next guy on the depth chart and hoping for the best, especially not at a premium spot like right tackle. You're not just losing a body, you're losing years and years of institutional knowledge. You're losing that silent communication, that unspoken language that happens between offensive linemen that have taken thousands of reps together. And maybe most importantly, you're losing the guy whose job it was to protect your young franchise quarterback. So you gotta believe the front office saw this coming. This couldn't have been a total surprise. So what is the master plan to fill this gaping hole? Let's take a closer look.
Okay, so here's our game plan for how we're going to break this all down. First, we're going to stick with the offense and really dig into their next man up philosophy. Then we're going to completely flip the script and jump over to the other side of the ball for a deep dive into that massive defensive overhaul. We're going to grade every single position group along the way. And finally, we'll zoom out and look at the big picture, what this all means for the Colts this season and beyond. So let's get started with the offense.
Okay, so first up, the offense. You know, losing a player like Braden Smith, that's a huge blow. There's no way around it. But the Colts' reaction, it has been the complete opposite of panic. In fact, it's been almost weirdly calm, which honestly tells you everything you need to know about how much confidence they have in their process. You don't see them scrambling, you don't see them overpaying for a washed-up veteran in free agency or trading away a bunch of future draft picks for a quick fix. Nope. Instead, they are doubling down on their core philosophy, the very belief system that built their offensive line into a team strength in the first place. And that philosophy is simple. Draft well, coach them up, and when a spot opens up, you trust the next man up.
And this slide right here, man, it just perfectly visualizes the massive gamble the Colts are taking. On one side, you've got the mountain of experience. That's Braden Smith, 108 starts against the baddest dudes on the planet. A proven commodity. You know exactly what you're getting. On the other side, you've got his replacement, Jalen Travis. In his resume, 4 starts, 4. It is a Grand Canyon-sized gap in experience. Now, to be fair, Travis showed some real flashes in what you could call a trial-by-fire rookie season. He got thrown into the mix, played over 300 snaps, and only gave up 1 sack. That's actually pretty impressive for a rookie. But we gotta have context, right? Those 4 starts weren't against a murderer's row of all-pro edge rushers. It was a glimpse of his potential for sure, but it is not a guarantee of future performance. So the Colts are betting big. They're betting that he can make that huge leap from a promising fill-in to a reliable week-in, week-out NFL starter. And that, my friends, is a massive bet.
But this quote here from Mike Chappell is so revealing. It shows us that this isn't some desperate, last-minute panic move. No, this was the plan. The Colts are betting on the kid, Jalen Travis, because of his core traits. Let's break them down. Temperament, okay? That means he's not going to get rattled. He gives up a sack, he's got a short memory, he's playing in a hostile road environment, he's cool as a cucumber. Intelligence, that's huge for an offensive lineman. It means he can see a blitz coming, he can process complex defensive line stunts before the snap, and then there's his size. I mean, the dude is a mountain, 6'8", almost 340 pounds. He's got the raw physical tools to just swallow up defenders. So these are the building blocks. But here's what makes it a calculated risk and not just a blind gamble. The team has a plan B. They've already said that if Travis struggles, they feel comfortable moving Matt Goncalves over to tackle. That shows foresight. That shows they're thinking 2 steps ahead.
And this slide right here, this proves that the Jalen Travis situation is not some fluke. It's not a one-off. This is the Colts' MO. This is their playbook for how they build their offensive line. I mean, just think about it. This is the 3rd time in only 2 seasons that they've successfully passed the torch from an established veteran to a younger guy they drafted and developed themselves. Last season, Tanner Bortolini stepped in for the longtime vet Ryan Kelly, and he almost immediately became one of the highest-graded centers in the entire league. The year before that, Matt Goncalves, he won the starting job at right guard in just his 2nd season. So you see the pattern? This isn't really a gamble anymore. It's a proven system. And that track record is exactly why the Colts feel so confident handing the keys to Jalen Travis. They've seen this movie before, and they're betting on the same happy ending.
All right. I want you to take everything we just talked about, the stability, the process, the clear plan on offense, and just throw it out the window. Because now we're going to flip the script and talk about the defense. And this is where our story takes a sharp, dramatic, almost violent turn. If the offense is a picture of calm, methodical confidence, the defense is, well, it's a scene of just chaotic, radical change and a whole lot of uncertainty. Look, the Colts knew they needed to shake things up on defense. They finished near the bottom of the league in points allowed last year. Something had to change. But what they did, man, it feels less like a shakeup and more like a complete teardown. And it's left a ton of massive question marks in its wake.
And all of this change, it really raises the million-dollar question, doesn't it? After all these moves, after a month of shuffling the deck, is this defense actually any better? Because change for the sake of change isn't progress. It's just change. So has general manager Chris Ballard just pulled off a brilliant rebuild, shipping out expensive veterans and hitting the reset button on the salary cap? Or has he accidentally gutted the entire unit, leaving it totally vulnerable heading into the season? Well, to figure that out, we're going to play Evaluator. We are going to go through this defense position by position, and for each group, we're going to ask that one simple question. Are they better or are they worse?
Okay, it is officially time for our defensive report card. We're going to go position by position. We're going to break down who's in, who's out. We're going to look at the leadership, the talent level, and then we're going to issue a final grade. This is going to give us a really clear picture of whether this unit is trending up or down. And we're going to start right in the heart of the defense with the linebackers. First up, the linebackers. And yikes. Right out of the gate, we have a major, undeniable downgrade. Trading away Zaire Franklin isn't just a loss. It is a massive blow. This wasn't just a guy who racked up a bunch of tackles. This was the heart and soul of the defense. He was the team captain, the on-field general, the guy with the green dot in his helmet who was relaying all the play calls from the sideline. You simply don't replace that kind of leadership overnight. His replacement, Akeem Davis-Gaither, is a fine player. He's athletic, he can run, but he's just not on the same planet as Franklin when it comes to instincts or commanding a defense. And what's really terrifying is what's behind him. The depth chart is thin. We're talking about guys like Austin Ejeke and Joseph Vaughn, who have almost 0 meaningful NFL snaps between them. One injury to Davis-Gaither and this entire unit could completely implode. This is a slam dunk, resounding worse.
Now, the cornerback position. This is a much more fascinating and complex puzzle to solve. If, as everyone expects, the veteran slot corner Kenny Moore II is traded, they're losing another huge veteran leader. And not just any leader, but one of the best nickelbacks in the entire game. That's a serious loss, no doubt. But, and this is a big but, their starting duo on the outside, Sauce Gardner and Mooney Ward, is absolutely elite. I mean, truly top tier. That is a luxury that can cover up a lot of other problems. The issue, though, is the depth. Behind those 2 stars, it gets very thin very fast. You're looking at guys like Justin Wally and the newly acquired Cam Taylor-Britt. It's a classic house of cards. The ceiling for this group is sky high. They could be great, but one injury to either Gardner or Ward and the whole thing could come crashing down. That's why our verdict is better, but it comes with a massive if healthy asterisk right next to it.
And that brings us to the safety position, which is another major area of concern. You've got Cam Bynum, who is a solid, reliable player. He's coming off a 4-interception season. He's your known quantity. You know what you're getting. But who is playing next to him? It is a complete and total mystery. The team is basically choosing between Wanye Thomas, who has been a career backup his whole life with barely any starting experience, and Hunter Wooler, a rookie who has never taken a single professional snap. Think about that. At a position that relies almost entirely on instant communication and chemistry to prevent those huge game-breaking explosive plays, you have a giant question mark at one of the spots. That is a recipe for disaster. This isn't just a downgrade, it's a huge strategic vulnerability that opposing offensive coordinators are already circling on their whiteboards. The verdict here is clearly worse.
Okay, now we get to the pass rush, and this is where the defense truly falls off a cliff. It's staggering. The Colts let both of their starting defensive ends walk. Both of them. Kwity Paye and Samson Ebukam, who just 2 seasons ago combined for over 15 sacks. Gone. And who did they replace them with? Arden Key and Michelle Clemens. Now, these guys are fine players, but they are career rotational pieces. Neither of them has ever had more than 7 sacks in a single season. In today's NFL, which is all about passing the football, if you cannot generate pressure on the quarterback with your front four, your defense simply cannot function. Your corners can't cover forever. And the Colts have dramatically weakened their ability to get after the quarterback from the edge. This isn't just a step back, it's like a giant leap in the wrong direction. This is probably the most glaring downgrade on the entire team. The verdict is an emphatic worse.
But wait, it is not all doom and gloom on the defensive side of the ball, I promise. Amidst all the chaos and all the uncertainty, there is one shining bright spot. One position group that saw a major, undeniable, clear improvement. And that is the defensive tackle position. In a move that was kind of surprising, the Colts not only kept their dominant starters, but they actually went out and invested in serious veteran firepower to back them up. This one move shows a clear, effective strategy. So let's break down why this is the one unqualified success of their entire defensive offseason. So here's the formula for why this defensive tackle room is such a massive win for the Colts. First, and most importantly, they kept their elite starting duo intact. You've got DeForest Buckner, a perennial Pro Bowler and a game wrecker, and Grover Stewart, who's arguably the best run-stuffing defensive tackle in the entire AFC. That's your foundation. Then, they went out and added guys with real pedigrees. They added Derek Nottie, a Super Bowl champion from the Chiefs who knows what it takes to win, and they added Jerry Tillery, a former first-round pick with a ton of starting experience. See, this isn't just adding depth for the sake of depth. This is adding proven, high-level veteran talent. This lets them run a deep rotation, which means their stars, Buckner and Stewart, will be fresh for those critical moments late in the fourth quarter. This group is now deeper, it's more versatile, and it's way more dangerous than it was last year. The verdict here is an easy, obvious better.
So, we've seen the two completely different sides of the coin, right? You have a stable, methodical offense that's built on a trusted, proven process, and then you have a chaotic, high-risk defense that has been completely torn down and rebuilt. So now let's put all the pieces together. Let's zoom out. What does this split personality, this Jekyll and Hyde approach, actually mean for the Colts' identity and their chances to win football games this year?
And this table right here, well, it paints a pretty bleak picture of the Colts' defense, doesn't it? Just look at the balance sheet. You've got 3 definitive worst categories, 1 better that's completely conditional on health, and only 1 clear improvement. And you have to think about how all these pieces work together. Or in this case, how they might fail together. A weaker pass rush from your defensive ends means your cornerbacks, whose depth is already a huge question mark, have to cover for a longer time. That's a bad combination. With a giant unknown at safety and a brand new signal caller at linebacker, the communication you need to handle complex modern offenses could completely break down. The bottom line is this. On paper, this defense looks significantly weaker and has way less margin for error than it did just 1 year ago.
So the takeaway on the offensive side of the ball is crystal clear. The Colts have a system, and they trust that system implicitly. They believe in their front office's ability to scout offensive linemen, they believe in their coach's ability to develop them, and they believe in promoting from within when the time is right. It is a proven formula that has already worked for them with guys like Bortolini and Goncalves, and they are betting that it's going to work again with Jalen Travis. This is a team that knows exactly who they are on offense. They are patient, they are disciplined, and they are completely driven by their process.
But on defense, man, it is a totally different story. It is a massive, high-stakes gamble that seems to be built more on hope and uncertainty than any clear plan. They have actively created leadership and production vacuums at linebacker, cornerback, and defensive end. And this leaves the Colts with a really dangerous split personality as a team. You have this stable, clock-chewing, long-term offense designed for sustained drives, and you're pairing it with a volatile, high-risk defense that might really struggle to get off the field. It is a fascinating and frankly an incredibly precarious position to be in heading into a new season.
So all of this brings us to our final critical question, the one that will likely define their entire season. Can the upcoming NFL draft save this defense? With so many glaring holes, can a single draft class, even a great one, really be the bridge between their solid offensive plan and their incredibly shaky defensive reality? They need guys who can come in and start on day one at defensive end and at safety, and they desperately need depth everywhere else. That is the enormous challenge facing the Colts front office right now. So what do you think? Can they fix this thing in the draft? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this deep dive here on NFL Nexus. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And hey, if you want another way to support what we do here, check out our awesome NFL coloring books. They're perfect for fans of all ages, from kids to adults just looking to relax. You can find the link for those right down in the description or just use the QR code on your screen. We appreciate you, and we'll see you for the next breakdown.